G'day everyone, welcome to the last session in this room. I'd like to welcome to the stage Virginia, who will be speaking about avian things, I guess. Just put it together for Virginia.
The threat we cannot see does not exist, right? Wrong. Yeah. Whether one has bored their head in the sand or has decided to face the threat's still coming for them. If we deny cyber risk, and we just learned here in this room about a optimism bias, if we think it doesn't exist or we prepare to face it, it's still coming. The only difference is that our readiness to respond and recover will be impacted by our decision. So this presentation is on cyber strategy, cyber risk. And if you are an executive in your company, this presentation is for you. If we inform the executives in your company, this presentation is for you. Hopefully we can give you weapons to go there and fight this cyber war. Yeah. This is a little bit about Vanessa, Virginia. Yes, you guys might already know me. It's my third time in a row presenting here at AusCERT and working a lot in Queensland and Australia. Just 24 years in this field doing cybersecurity. Now a lot of work with the private sector, critical infrastructure. Previously, in my previous life, several years with the military. I was heading the cybersecurity capacity of the nuclear-propelled submarine for the Brazilian Navy. So about a freak about cyber risk, and here I am. It's supposed to work now. So the theme of this conference is Rethink, Rescue, and Reboot. And those three items are going to be the three items on my agenda for today. And we're going to be covering each one of them. So on Rethink, in order for you to rethink something, you might have given some consideration to the matter before. And what I want to talk to you about today is what have you been listening to and who has been giving you information that you have considered? And what's the volume of insight you appreciated before making your strategic decisions at your company? Is in the military and in the intelligence, we have a saying that says, live by single source, die by single source. And we find among executives and members of board of directors that they get the idea on cybersecurity from a friend, or when they are sitting on a board of different companies, they understand the reality of this other company and they never consider the sector, the implications, the regulations that apply. And what are the things they are listening to, they're learning about? What are the relevance of the information they are capturing, and maybe leading them to think that cybersecurity is not a priority and not something that needs to be addressed now. I've been inside 78 companies in Australia, and I've advised senior leadership and board of directors, and I've got answers like this. Yes, Virginia, we understand, but let's put it on the budget for 2024, 2025. And the heck is we're not going to wait this time. So I want to introduce you to this magical being. Yeah, it's coming in all shades and colors, and around in companies telling people about the risks of not protecting their systems. And this one in specific has a smile on her face, but they are not always happy like this, because they find problems trying to build relationships and get people to join their initiatives and gain ground. The CISO, or the likes of a CISO, a head of security, or a cybersecurity manager, are most likely the people the board of directors and the executive leadership should be listening to. And it feels really lonely at times. I'm currently the virtual CISO for 4 large enterprises. And because I've been doing this for a long time, and most of the time recommended, I arrive having the opportunity to present and talk, but it's not always the reality. So when we have the board meetings, the assemblies, everyone is going to get a window of time, 40 minutes, 30 minutes, and then the CISO has those 5 minutes. And they are advised in advance, we want to hear about the things we are doing well, okay? Don't be a fearmonger. Oh, this is not relevant for us. And there is an agenda of what you can or you cannot discuss. And even when what the CISO, the message they're conveying is accepted, it's not something for today. Because everything else comes with a ROI, return on investment. We have a new product to launch. We want to merge and acquire other companies. Cybersecurity is not bringing us money. And then it doesn't become a priority. And then the CISO, on his attempts of building relationship and getting people to implement the controls he has identified, he has no success because the tone that needed to be set from the top is not there. Cybersecurity is not a priority for the board of directors, not a priority for the C-suite, it's not a priority for anyone. And I like military images. So this is basically what happened. Oh, we have new strategies, we have new plans, we are growing. Everyone is invited to the table. Let's talk about finance, let's talk about the new market campaign, innovation, transformation. And we don't need someone that will come and hinder our ability to grow. And good cybersecurity is an enabling factor, is not a hindering factor. But when it's done by design, when the CISO joins the table from Mark 1, then you can address the risks and explore the opportunities. But it's not always happening. And then we get to this point. They still will be faced by threats and risks. It's still coming from them. And at this point, your readiness and your ability to respond and recover is compromised. Because you don't even know the person. You don't know if there is a plan in place. What is the escalation pathway? What is the communication channels? Who you talk to right now? You don't have this comfort and support that would be coming from your CISO at this moment. And they don't know the name. Because I'm loud and I talk a lot. They know Virginia, but not every CISO behaves like this. So now we have identified who our executive leadership team and our board of directors should be learning from. If you don't have a CISO, go for a virtual CISO. Get the help. It doesn't need to be a permanent engagement, but just get some help, some insight of your strategy and adequacy. But once you identify who is bringing you those insights and that knowledge, what do you want to learn from that person? Let's give the CISO some platform. First of all, you need to learn about the threat landscape. It's always back to art of war, who you are, who the enemy is, and what you have, and who is outside there that wants to get what you have. And so my industry, maybe aviation or healthcare, so what are the legislations that apply to me? What are the regulations? What are the expectations of partners and vendors and the supply chain? Like, can I open doors to more business if I'm compliant with legislation X or if I'm aligned to this industry best practice? What are the risks? Our partner is not going to renew the contract if we cannot prove this maturity. And about assets, like what are the most critical assets for your organization? You should protect them better than the reminder assets, so you need to know what they are. And the motivation of threat actors is almost all the time is money. There are the motivations there. So if you're trading well, and if you're profitable, and if you're making money, they will come for you. So learn about the threat landscape. Once you learn about you define your threat landscape, you have identified the risks. The biggest risk for your organization. You look at the global scenario, you look at Australia, then you look at your industry, and then start looking internally. So have we had an incident in the past? Do we have vulnerabilities that we are not addressing? So what can go wrong? Establish the threat landscape, beautiful. Then what do? You need to have a strategy in place. What is a good cyber strategy is the strategy that will enable your business strategies. The business wants to grow. How can we grow securely? The business wants to merge. How can we apply security to the merge and acquisition? The business wants to launch a new application. How we make sure there's no vulnerabilities there. The second one, understand your current state. What are the problems that I have? Where am I now and where I want to get and how I get there? Then you put steps from the now to the future goal. And those steps, they are your risk mitigating controls. You have identified the risks. You know where you want to get. You need to mitigate those risks so you can get comfortably there. No one has money to implement all security controls. It's theory of finances, and I repeat myself. So how you do this? Get an implementation roadmap and prioritize. You know what your most relevant assets are. So now you prioritize the controls that will protect the most relevant assets. Go understand the non-negotiables, like MFA. You cannot just ignore that. And now you know who you are, you know what you have, you know your current state, you know where you want to get, you have the steps to get there, and you have a prioritized plan to get there. But now you need sponsorship. Who should be the owner of the security capacity and the security program in a company? Anyone? Who do you think should be the big?
CFO or the CRO, ideally.
Yeah.
As a sponsor.
Yeah, a good point to start. With my companies, I have shifted to the CEO. When the CEO is the owner of cybersecurity, because we're passing new legislation, has been approved on the lower house and is at the higher house now, the CEOs can be made personally liable for a cyber attack.
The
CEO, yeah. And if that guy is the one who might do time in jail, we need to inform him and tell him, take ownership. Put your coins here, because now the CEO is not putting his money on cybersecurity, and he might come back to you and say, why have you never advised me that I was at risk? Sorry, talking about coins, we jumped all the way. And then you need support. You need the budget. You need a team. If you have a huge threat, but you have just one employee, is that team, the size of the team, commensurated to the threat? If someone sends your way a APRA CPS 234 or a NIST form or ISO, they will ask you to prove that you are taking measures that are commensurate to the threat. Having one employee and having antivirus is not an approach that is commensurate to the threat. And also, you need a very good risk management approach. You need to define your appetite to risk. Because companies will say, okay, my appetite to risk is medium or high. It means that every risk that you identified that is median or below, you're going to accept it. You don't need to treat it. And the best practice in the industry today is that cybersecurity appetite should be low or very low, because anything that is higher than that is going to be treated. Because the hackers are very advanced and sophisticated, and if there is a vulnerability, they will exploit it, and they will take over. That's always happened. Like, Virginia, can you come to this meeting? Can you advise us on how big should be the slice of budget for cybersecurity? And how small, I would say, because it's always really small. But my clients, we are, via my company that I never mentioned before, RightSec, we respond to incident. We sell coordination of incident as a retainer. I'm a certified forensic examiner, more on a managerial and strategic level now, but I know how to do, I've been doing, I have done, and I'm still doing. So when we step in, when the ceiling is on fire, and in times of war, it's the rule, always the client will have improved budget. If you want to know the most secure companies, go and look to the ones that were hacked 2 months ago, because they will have the people, they will have the money, they will have everything else. But by then, they have a damaged reputation and financial loss. So how can you advise your executives, or if you are the executive, how can you make this decision yourself? I've got some information from Deloitte here, but Gartner has similar ones. There is a percentage of the company annual revenue that is your ideal cybersecurity budget. You can also have a percentage of the IT investment that is your cybersecurity budget. And there's another number here that is per head, a number for you to invest in IT. And that from that IT, there is a 10% for security. And it's almost always the case. When I work with my clients, we define a roadmap, we prioritize packages and tasks, and we go and cover the cost of having processes in place, having people, and then buying technology. It comes to a number that is from 0.3 to 0.5% of their annual revenue in cybersecurity. So we've covered the rethink part. Face risk, acknowledge that it exists, know who you learn from, know what you need to learn, and provide resources for the cybersecurity capacity. They need budget, they need support, they need sponsorship. Now we get to the risk here. Whose role is cybersecurity in a company? Everybody's role. And that includes the board of directors and the executive leadership. So they need to reskill as well, or at least they need awareness and some training. And then all the operational staff and the security staff as well. And my question, why should they invest their time? You talk to executives and to board members, they have 5 minutes to talk to the CISO. The security is not a big matter. So their time is precious. Virginia, I'm running a business here. We need return on investment. I'm not going to allocate my resources to implement those controls. Business as usual is crazy. I don't have time for a project. So that applies for them and for others. But it's never too late for you to acknowledge something is critical and I need to learn more about it. Board members, they speak risk. Their language is risk. It's profit, loss. It's not the number of times the firewall was attacked. So they will eventually, many of them are already, acknowledging and addressing cyber risk. So what we can do, and I make it really clear here, RightSec's product agnostic. We don't sell any brand, any product. We just advise on a strategy. We do penetration testing and train developers and etc. I'm just using those as an example. So how can we train our executive leadership for them to become aware of the threat? The Australian Cybersecurity Center has a specific material for executive leadership. If you call them, they will even come and deliver presentations or provide webinars and etc. Companies using their internal resources, they can create audience-based awareness training that is relevant for, those guys are the most target. Finance executives, the executive assistant. So if you have the team internally, just create a focused awareness for your executives. You need to have someone very argumentative that can seduce them to take the training. Or you can outsource some company that can come and do that for you. Last year when I was presenting here, I was given this book, The Secure Board. There is one, there is the Secure CEO. I haven't met the author personally, and it's not trying to sell this book, but this type of literature, if they're going to invest their time in reading a book, this is a good one, like the strategic reading that connect the points. The other option is talk to the peers in the industry. So if you are in aviation, go meet people from other airlines in groups. If you are in water treatment, go and talk to them. What your strategy, what you're doing now, what is working for you, what's not working for you. And CEOs and CIOs, they like each other. They have drinks together. They go for dinners. They could let's use 10 minutes of our time to go over a cyber strategy. And then some of my clients, they've been using, and there are many of those, but that I recalled when I was putting together the presentation, those two brands here of awareness training, they have videos and training that are specific for executive, for the C-suite, and for even including board of directors. There are ways they could optimize their time taking part of a training that is specific for them. And then it's about training and finding the skills for all the remainder employees of a company. And I copied the words of the person who opened the conference yesterday. We need more people, we need more skills. It's a rule for everyone. I run a business and we need more skills. We do as a service because my clients cannot find the skills. And if they find 2 months later, people are poached to another business. When we do as a service, we do a handover. But when you hire a permanent employee that takes 2 months of induction and then leaves, then you're just wasting money. So we need more people, we need more skills. They're just not available. What to do? And the reality, they are not available. And if you offer more money, someone else always has more money than you have. So I would say, look around yourself. Those large companies, they would have a very large marketing team or accounts payable, accounts receivable, finance, and etc. And those guys are analytical mind, risk-based approach of thinking, systematic, methodic. You might find within your team someone that has the potential to be trained. Yeah. And you might also find, if you have, I'll just have 3 people on my cybersecurity team, and there's 10,000 of us, and those guys are too busy, then you might want to consider to take a step back. We do that at our company. I have clients of RightSec doing this now. You compromise a little bit. You have 3 people, and you get one of them to train newcomers. You go for graduates, you go for juniors at university, you go for TAFE, and then you have someone training newcomers, and you end up building a large team. And those will appreciate the opportunity because you are taking them at a very low seniority level, and you can mold them to your desires and what the company needs. But you need to compromise a little bit. We called it, in the military, we called that the multiplying factor. Every time I would be sent to another country to get a specific training, I would come back and document and train 40 lieutenant officers. And I would do, they would watch, I would do, they would watch, I would do, they would watch. And then they would do, and I would supervise. They would do, and I would supervise, until the moment they were doing by themselves. So there's no way we're going to find people out there. We don't find people to work at supermarkets and drugstores and anywhere. So what they do, those guys, they get someone who doesn't know how to do the work and train them. Yeah. And because if you only think for profit, we need to always be making money, then you're not going to be able to do that. So how we reskill, I think it's a good idea. You compromise a little tomorrow, and today and tomorrow you're going to have a fit-for-purpose team. And if you have this resource internally, you have 3 security specialists, or 2, or 1, and you can do that, compromise and do internally, you do internally. If you don't have any, and you cannot find any, then if you go to the market and engage as a service, you contract someone, make sure you don't go with those companies that they have a very hard scope. Like, you need someone that goes beyond and above, and okay, I'm going to do the work here, I'm going to do an adequacy check for a strategy, I'm going to define the roadmap, going to help you implementing. But if you find an employee, or if you want to introduce me to your internal employees that you want to equip, I'll do the handover. I'll train them as I go. I work with someone for privacy, I work for someone with development. And as we go over implementing the controls, they learn it. I think the good advisor is that one that doesn't make you dependent on them. You need to be self-reliant. And so if you're going to invest on getting the help, get the help from someone that you can document on your SLA, yourself. There will be an element. You know, when you're putting together an ICMS and you're aligning to ISO, they have a role that's called the ICMS trainer. So get the trainer, get it as a service, but not only for awareness training, but actually to train in new profession. And this is the last item about Reboot. The times people refer me to go a company, and I start having the chat with the executives or the CIO, the CRO, and they just tell me, okay, the program wasn't working. Our cybersecurity approach was not the one we wanted. Someone poached our employees. We don't have people to implement. We just gave up. We froze the program. Nothing is happening. So rebooting is different from shutting it down. Something is not going well, you just do not give up and walk away. Okay? Why we need Reboot? We need the cybersecurity strategy to enable the business. We need the clients, the partners, the government to look at you as a attractive opportunity. And I'll say this. If you are a chemotherapy compounding pharmacy that provides work for hospitals, and those hospitals are a vendor in the supply chain, they will only allow you to come to their facilities and provide the treatment if you're ISO compliant, if you're aligned to NIST, if you follow the Australian Signal Directorate, the Essential 8. So you're opening several doors of opportunity. Or if you're already there before the hospital will start demanding that, they're not going to renew it. They're just going to kick you out. We had aged care issues back in time, and facilities that operated inside the hospital that were under attack. And I was managing systems of a hospital. They called me to revoke passwords and drop sessions and disconnect. Yeah. So become more reboot in a way that you have a plan, you check adequacy of your strategy, and you become more attractive for partnerships. So how you sell cybersecurity to a board of directors is not a commercial sell. How you convince them, tell them that there is return on investment, because many more opportunity will come your way. Like when RightSec, we won a tender with Queensland government to offer services to Queensland agencies. We only won it after we got all the credentials that we need. We aligned to ISO, we passed the certification tests. And for us, it was great, opened several doors, but took the process of maturing our posture security-wise. And the second one is you can be a real business enabler, because if you save in cybersecurity to go ahead with several large plans, and over there in the future you got hacked, all the money you made from those projects and plans you might lose it. So that's the visibility, that's the message we need to convey. So just let me go ahead. Recapping here, rethink, for you to think about something you need insight. So know who you learn from and know what you learn about. And reskill, invest in training, because it's the only way you're going to get people. Market doesn't have them. And reboot, turn on again, resume your cybersecurity strategy and become more attractive for the market, and do well for your clients that trust you to look after their data. And this is it.
Thanks, Virginia, for that. That was great. Did anyone have any questions? No, recording.
Thank you for that presentation. I'm just wondering if you have any go-to analogies that you use when trying to overcome optimism bias in execs, as in this won't happen to us. Do you have any analogies that you like to use that help that situation?
Well, the first analogy that I use is the ostrich. Now it's a urban legend. They don't put their head under the sand to protect from the enemy, although we believe it. They do that to get rid of insects. But I have 2 kids on top of it, 7 and 11 years old. But when they were 2 years old, they would go like this and do, "Hey, Mom, you cannot see me. I'm not here. You cannot find me." Because they couldn't see me, they thought I couldn't see them. And that's what I've told my members of the board of directors, that if they choose to ignore the threat, it's still coming for them. And the same thing with the ostrich. When he put his head under the sand, his whole massive body is exposed, and other animals can just come in and take them down. And so it's coming. It's not a matter of if, it's when. Your posture is going to tell you if you survive or not, how fast you can respond and recover. And if you need more than analogy, is that just being positive about the matter is not going to save you. Just look at the numbers globally and locally. It's, if you're making money, you are attractive, you are a target. So.
Any other questions? All right, give it up again for Virginia, thanks.
Thank you.
This one is for you.
you very much. And we're just gonna go for this one.
So we're breaking for afternoon tea, and then at 3:45 there's going to be the speed debate in the main room. So go enjoy that, I guess.